Hi, I'm Figment, and we're going to continue on in our series about the Subtractor Polyphonic Synthesizer. Now, if you remember when we spoke about velocity, we had these bipolar knobs, which either had some type of a positive value or a negative value, and velocity would then adjust the parameter, like FM or phase, accordingly, however the knob was set. The mod wheel section and the external modulation section kind of has the exact same buttons. It's just that something else is controlling that, not velocity. So I'll talk about the mod section, and then I'll talk about the external mod section. So on your synthesizer, you should have something called a mod wheel and a pitch wheel. This is just bend, but a pitch bend wheel. Pitch bend wheel is easy. The more you bend the wheel down, the pitch will bend a certain amount of notes. As you raise it up, the pitch will bend up a certain amount of notes, and the range you just set here in this range knob. The highest you can go is 24, the lowest you can go is nowhere. So I'll keep it back on 7. A pitch wheel, pretty simple. This mod wheel, on the other hand, has a effect on one of these 5 parameters that you have here: filter frequency, filter res, LFO1 amount, phase, and FM. So the wheel's at 0, nothing's happening. Also, nothing's happening because these bipolar knobs aren't set to do anything. But let's say we have LFO1 affecting oscillator 2's pitch and an amount of 30 and some rate. That's fine. That's what LFO1 is doing. If you took this amount knob and then raised it by, let's say, 20, what this means is when this mod envelope is all the way open or all the way up, this amount has been raised to 50. So LFO1 will have a higher amount. As you scale it down, it may bring it down to 45. As you bring it down even further, it might bring this down to, let's say, I don't know, 40, and so on. If you bring it here, maybe it's 35. And when you close it, it'll be back to 30, its original amount that it was on. You can also have a negative value too. So let's say we brought filter frequency negative 20, right? And right now the filter frequency is all the way open. So as you raise this amount knob a bit, or you open it up all the way, what it would do is it's open up all the way. So filter 1's amount, LFO1's amount, will then be 50 because it's adding. It's got a negative value of 20. A positive value of 20 for LFO1. So LFO1 would now have a value of 50 as the amount, and the filter frequency for filter 1 will be brought down by 20, all in this one knob motion here. So you could set up multiple things. You could give phase a boost of 7 and FM pull it down by, I don't know, 20 whatever value, and you could have multiple parameters being affected across the scale of this wheel. So it's a modulation source again, just like our envelope section, but instead of being some kind of modulation over time, because an envelope ADSR is a time-based situation, or instead of it being like an LFO, which is modulation using an oscillator waveform, it's modulation using a wheel, and it can control, oh wow, the really outside of that difference too, the big difference between this and the mod wheel is that your mod envelope, take for example, can only go to one parameter. It can't go to the mix and FM and oscillator 1. Your filter envelope only goes to your filter frequency, filter 1. The amp envelope only goes to the amplitude. LFO1 can only go one destination as well, so can LFO2. But the mod wheel can be run, as you can see here, to multiple destinations, giving them multiple different amounts or values, changing them slightly in different ways, and it can all happen at the same time. That's what your mod wheel is useful for, and that's what this mod section is for. Now, this external mod section has your bipolar knobs again, so I'm not going to explain exactly how they work. If you remember from velocity and you remember from the mod wheel, they work pretty much the same way. Just the only difference now is what is affecting them. Aftertouch are controls from some kind of external synthesizer. Since most of these tutorials are going to be based with Inside of Reason, I'm not going to show you that. This EXPR is the expression pedal. So if you have a MIDI controller and you have an expression pedal, the amount of how much you've pressed down on that expression pedal, or the range of it, will then have an effect on whatever these parameters are that you set. Could raise something, could lower something, so on. And the breath control is if you have it's a really weird device. It's like a breath. It's like a tube, if you will, that you blow into, and it's another kind of expression device that can be. Some synthesizers have them, and so on and so forth. And then just that would have an effect on whatever parameters you set here. The 4 being filter frequency, LFO1's amount, amplitude, and FM. Portamento is portamento knob. If your polyphony is 1, when you, let's just do this real quick, see if I can draw it. It will create a glide in between notes. So I think we have an LFO on. I gotta turn that off. So instead of 2 notes happening and then a note just snaps to another, there'd be a glide time in between. So let's do this and let's do this. Okay. I'm gonna turn off these LFOs and I'm gonna turn off portamento for now. Okay. So there's no portamento, and these 2 notes are just playing. As you raise it, there's a slight bend in between the notes. You heard that? So this kind of increases how long the bend will take. A really long bend. That's the portamento knob. I don't want to rush through too many things because just explaining the external modulation and the mod wheel and even the polyphony. Polyphony is how many notes can be pressed simultaneously. So you could have, I guess, up to 99 notes playing simultaneously. That's a huge chord. And then you could just have a mono device, only 1 note can play at a time. Like I was saying before, I don't want to rush through too many sections, too many ideas in one video. There's still a bit more to talk about, actually not much. We've covered mostly the entire front of the Subtractor by now. I might do a few videos more about the back of the Subtractor and some of these CV inputs and outputs that can be fairly useful, but that's going to be a whole nother video in and of itself. But as far as the front, I think we've made it. I think we're done. So any questions, any comments, post them below. I will try my best to answer them. Until then, play around, experiment. It's the number one way to really get a hard and definite grasp on how any of these areas actually work, and you'll get a real good idea of all the different sounds that the Subtractor is capable of. So, until then, have some fun, go eat a muffin, and I'll talk to you later.